you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Samsung big screen we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start. But you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Time for that upgrade to an HD 3D web-enabled Samsung TV. Get the best selection, price, and service in town without waiting. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
Hi, I'm John Mallos. Welcome to this edition of Connect with Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV. On this day, we're talking about breast cancer and the Susan G. Komen for the Cure. We're going to talk about the race. We'll talk about the Central Valley Executive Director. She is going to be in the house. Unfortunately, this show is taped. No phone calls today. We're back with our program in a moment. Today we're talking about one of the most feared diseases of all time as far as women are concerned, and that of course is breast cancer. Of course, thousands upon thousands will be diagnosed this year and thousands more will die. And it is the most feared disease, even though it is second in terms of fatality behind heart disease. Let's go to the videotape. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to breast cancer. The numbers do not lie. About 200,000 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer this year. Roughly 40,000 of those women will die from that disease. For the last 15 years or so, the Komen Race for the Cure here in Fresno has raised awareness about early detection, and most experts believe that is the key to survival. Now, since 1999, the Central Valley affiliate to the race has been awarded some $3 million in grants for early screening, education, treatment, support, and all the rest. For 32 years, the Susan G. Komen for the Cure has been raising awareness about breast cancer across the country with fundraisers, races, and all kinds of other things to let people know that this is a disease that you've got to get the early detection in order to beat it. Susan G. Komen died of breast cancer in the early 80s. Her sister Nancy Brinker made the promise to spread the word by starting this organization. In our studio right now is Sharon Johnson. She is the Executive Director of the Central Valley affiliate of Susan G. Komen for the Cure. We'll talk about the race. We'll talk about breast cancer. We'll talk about detection and early detection, which is so important in beating breast cancer for women. And you know what? Not only women get breast cancer, it can affect men as well. We're going to be back. No phone calls today. Apologize for that. We'll be back with our guest and the topic today, breast cancer, in just a moment.
Remember me?
After practicing law, Raymond Berg fought crime.
You have the right to an attorney.
As a hard-boiled detective on wheels.
Ain't it the truth?
His name is Ironside.
Perhaps you wouldn't mind saying it again.
His name is Ironside.
All right, now you've said it.
Nothing slows him down.
I want to see this one firsthand.
Now on MeTV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
Well, what are we waiting for?
So the question today is, when we're talking about breast cancer, how important is that self-examination? I've talked to a lot of people about this, and they say that the mammograms don't always do the trick. Well, Sharon Johnson is here to talk about that. How are you, Sharon?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you,
And kind of don't
too.
swivel your chair towards me. Kind of stay the other way if you can. There you go, right there. I know that's kind of a weird deal, but what about mammograms? Are they 100%? Do they work, or do you have to do the self-examination in conjunction with that?
Well, we go by the steps for breast self-awareness, which are 4 steps. Know your risk, get screened, know what's normal for you, and make healthy lifestyle choices. Mm-hmm. Mammograms can be improved. It's not the most comfortable of tests. It's still a digital X-ray. However, it is the best thing out there as far as diagnostic studies, accompanied by doing a breast self-exam and knowing what's normal for you.
Okay, let's put up the full screens of what you just talked about.
Okay.
Right there, 4 self-awareness steps. Know your risk, get screened, know what is normal for you, make healthy lifestyle choices. Let's take the first one and we'll take them one by one.
Okay.
Know your risk. What do you mean by knowing your risk?
It's very important to know about your family history. When you go into your physician and you're concerned about breast cancer screening, it's imperative that your physician know, do you have a history of breast cancer either on your mother's side, your father's side? It helps your physician determine whether or not you need a mammogram at an earlier age if you're of higher risk. Also, if any genetic testing might have to be done.
Okay, getting screened, that means going to see your physician, right, and talking to him about maybe a mammogram and self-examinations. Is that correct?
It starts out with the physician doing a breast exam on you. It's called a clinical breast exam.
Okay.
Talking to your physician. Your physician has to order the mammogram for you, and
Okay.
the other
All right.
the other screening can be for younger women too, if they are of higher risk.
Okay, so if you get screened at 40, is 40 about the age that's recommended for the mammogram?
If you're of average risk, yes, age 40 and every year thereafter.
If you're high risk, what should the age be?
It may be younger than 40, it may be 25. It just depends upon if you've ever had any pathology in your breasts or if you have a high family history.
Okay, so is the message don't totally rely on the mammogram?
You shouldn't rely on just the mammogram, knowing
Because?
well, because they don't always catch a breast cancer. They don't always
Right.
recognize the lump.
Is that because breasts are different sizes? They have different masses in terms of the amount of skin and tissue and all of that. And so the mammogram may not be able to pick up something that's relatively small?
Right, as particularly if you have dense breasts where there's a lot of fibrous tissue in the breasts. You know, mammograms may not be the total answer, so that's why you follow up, knowing what's normal for you.
Interesting. Let's put those back up on the screen and go over number 3. Know what is normal for you. Okay.
We used to recommend that you do the absolute tutorial like a clinical breast exam on yourself. However, what statistics show is most women that find lumps in their own breasts actually find them in the shower or while laying down.
Yeah.
But if you want to do that type of tutorial and have it textbook, that's fine. But knowing what your breasts feel like, also what they look like in front of the mirror is very important.
Really?
Yes.
So you should stand in front of the mirror and look at yourself
Yes.
to see what looks normal
Yes.
for you.
For you.
Yeah.
And you know, some women don't realize that there's a dimple configuration on one breast unless they look in the mirror. They may not realize that one breast has all of a sudden gotten a lot larger than the other one. So looking in the mirror is very important as well.
Okay, and should you be in any kind of or certain type of position to examine your breast? Standing up, lying down, sitting down?
Standing up while you're looking in the mirror and leaning over, looking from side to side and a front view.
Is it okay to have someone else examine you besides a doctor or no? Like say your husband, perhaps your boyfriend.
You know, I've talked to women whose husbands, spouses, and better halves have found their breast lumps. It's really better that
Really?
you, if you're that serious about doing it once a month, do it to yourself.
Okay. Put up the screen one more time, full screens. Making healthy lifestyle choices. What does that mean? Diet?
Diet and exercise. Also, you should talk to your doctor about hormone replacement therapy. And women,
Why? Because
some hormones can actually interact with the estrogen levels and make tumors grow.
Okay.
And the breastfeeding is also recommended. They have found that there are lower incidences of breast cancer in women who breastfeed, and the breast cancers of the estrogen receptive and negative hormones.
Right, right. And why is diet so important? How does that affect whether or not a person gets breast cancer?
Well, obesity can actually affect so many other medical conditions as
Yeah.
well as breast cancer.
Yeah, so that's a key component.
Yes.
All right. And talk to a dietitian or maybe your doctor about that as well.
Correct.
Depending on what your situation is. And if you have diabetes, if you have high blood pressure, are you more at risk maybe for getting breast cancer or no?
If you're obese, you're at more risk for developing breast cancer.
Interesting. Now you are, now we got to go to break, but before we do, you're a breast cancer survivor yourself, 2 times over, right?
Yes.
All right, talk about that a little bit.
Well, I was initially diagnosed after a routine mammogram in 1999, and then again 11 years later. And both of mine were detected by a mammogram, not breast self-exam.
But you do the self-examination as well.
I was doing them, yes.
Yeah, you were doing them. But
Yeah.
yours was found by a mammogram. So
Yes.
just because they're not 100% doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
You should do both.
Should do both.
Yes.
All right. We are talking with Sharon Johnson. She is the executive director of the Susan G. Komen for the Cure right here in the Central Valley. Today is a special program. We have no phone calls. Sorry to inform you about that, but a very informational show here today. And of course, if you've seen this show once, we're going to play it probably once or twice because the cure, the race for the cure is coming up in the fall. We'll talk about that. We're back with our program here on Connect with Me in just a moment.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Samsung big screen we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start. But you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Time for that upgrade to an HD 3D web-enabled Samsung TV. Get the best selection, price, and service in town without waiting. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
You know, we're talking about the breast examinations, the mammograms, and the self-examination. Is there any reason that you wouldn't do the self-examination or have a mammogram? I mean, why wouldn't a woman want to do it?
Sometimes women have difficulty paying for it, and we hope that the Affordable Health Care Act is going to help with that. However, it still can be a problem.
Low-income families,
Yes.
low-income, say, single females, or maybe they're a single parent and they can't afford it.
Right. They may not have qualified for Medi-Cal in the past because of what they were making wage-wise. That's why Komen Central Valley has a grant program that does help women and men pay for mammograms who can't afford them.
Okay, so that's where this money goes on the race for the cure, right?
It goes to a multitude of things. These diagnostic tests are one, lymphedema treatment for breast cancer survivors. They
Yeah.
can't afford it, hospice care, and culturally diverse wellness programs as well.
So I mentioned this $3 million that's been raised. Is that where that money goes? Does it stay here locally, most of it?
$3 million has been invested into the community, while nearly $800,000 has been invested in breast cancer research.
Right. So, but is there also a fear factor for not wanting to know the results of a test, or the fear of self-examination that you might discover something?
I've spoken with a lot of women that don't do breast self-exam or get mammograms exactly for that reason.
Yeah, it's kind of like when I go to the doctor once a year and I get that PSA test for your prostate. It's always like, okay, what's the result? It's like, okay, I kind of half cover my ears. Is it okay? That's what I want. So there is a fear factor out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even if you've been diagnosed with breast cancer once, there's a fear factor every time you go for a mammogram that something may be found.
How often do you have to check? And you're cancer-free, right?
I'm cancer-free, yes.
And have been for...
Since 2011.
Good. That's good. So what do you have to do now to keep the same...
Me
pace?
personally?
Yeah,
Well,
for
I
yourself.
still do chest exam. My breasts were removed. So,
Okay.
and I wasn't a candidate for reconstruction. It's also very important for women who have had mastectomies to check their chest wall. Just because the tumor was removed does not mean it cannot recur at the chest wall area.
Yeah.
So I still see my oncologist regularly. I do my
Every 6 months or so? Or?
every year.
Every year?
I'm at a point where I
Okay.
can go every year now.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad to hear it, Sharon. I want to put up a picture of Susan G. Komen. You can talk about who she was. She's on the left, right, in this picture?
Correct, in the stripes.
Right, in the stripes, and she died back in the early 80s. She well, they discovered she had breast cancer in 1977. She lasted about 3 years and then passed away in her sister is on the right. That's Nancy Brinker, who made the promise to start this organization to, to just basically get the word out, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
She felt she needed to keep her promise to her sister. The culture of breast cancer was so different back in the 70s. You didn't really talk about it. Who really brought breast cancer to the forefront then was Betty Ford.
Why didn't they talk about it?
It's just they didn't talk about a lot of gynecological problems then. But breast cancer wasn't one of the things that they talked about,
Seems
unfortunately.
kind of ridiculous now in this day and age, doesn't it?
We're used to talking about it every day, and because of early detection, we're finding that more women are being detected early. It's easier to talk about now. It's even changed since I was initially diagnosed in 1999. I didn't know any breast cancer survivors. So if you're a breast cancer survivor, there's a wonderful network of other women out there to help support you.
Yeah. Okay, Nancy Brinker is no longer the CEO of the Susan G. Komen Foundation or For the Cure, or whatever you want to call the organization now. I don't know what's the official name.
Well, it's Susan G. Komen.
Okay, Susan
That's
G.
it.
Komen.
Susan
Okay.
G. Komen.
She resigned. Who is the new CEO now?
Dr. Judy Salerno. She's an MD who has vast experience in working with women that are underserved.
Okay. Okay, and she's kind of staying in the background, isn't she? She's not really at the forefront the way Nancy Brinker was.
She's not on the news a lot. Her primary goal is get to know the affiliates and the great work that we're all doing.
Does she travel the country?
She has. She did what's called a listening tour, where she went to the different regions where the Komen affiliates exist and actually had roundtable discussions with those affiliates.
Right, about?
Everything.
Yeah.
Finance, what's coming up as far as research, the work that we do, how we can do it better, how we can get the word out.
Did you go to some of those meetings?
I've been in quite a few meetings with her.
Yeah. And is she the right person for the gig?
Absolutely. Yes, she's wonderful.
Yeah, because of why? Her demeanor?
Her demeanor, but the fact that she is an MD, the fact that she has worked with underserved women before, and she's really got the grassroots attitude. She understands what we're doing here.
Yeah. Now I want to point out to our viewers, there was a little bit of controversy the last couple of years with Nancy Brinker. She was making a lot of money, as we all know, was highly publicized on all the networks, all the major newspapers across the country. It's no big secret she was making somewhere around $684,000 a year, and then she stopped the payments to Planned Parenthood, and that caused an uprising. Some of the races were canceled.
I've got to correct you, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
The payments to Planned Parenthood were never stopped.
Okay.
They never did not get funded.
I'm just saying what was reported by
Right.
major news organizations.
The problem
like
is once
NBC.
NBC
reported that on the Today Show. I think Lisa Myers did an expose on it. But they were down on donations. A lot of the races were canceled. Now, do you think with the new CEO, do you think that we're back on track here?
Well, the races weren't canceled because of a controversy. The 3 days in some cities were canceled,
Right.
but there were no races
Right.
belonging to any affiliates that were canceled.
Right, right. So you think now we're on the track, or Susan G. Komen is on the right track, back on the right track?
I think we've always been on the right track. It was just a tiny bit derailed for a little bit, but all the affiliates have always been on track.
Right. Okay, we're talking with Sharon Johnson. She is the executive director of Susan G. Komen right here in the Central Valley. Breast cancer is a very important topic. That's why we're going to run this show more than once for you, the Connect With Me viewer, out there to view this information and take it in, soak it in the best you can, and understand how important the self-examinations really are. It's early detection. Back with our program in just a moment.
This black and white patrol car has an overhead valve V8 engine. It develops 325 horsepower at 4,800 RPMs. It accelerates from 0 to 60 in 7 seconds. It has a top speed of 120 miles an hour. The automobile has 2 shotgun racks, one attached to the bottom portion of the front seat, one in the vehicle trunk.
You want me to drive?
Now on MeTV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
Back here on the program, talking with Sharon Johnson and the executive director of Susan G. Komen. When is the race?
We don't have a date yet. We hope
Okay.
that by the end of this week we'll be able to announce the date.
In the fall, right?
It'll be in the fall.
At Fresno State.
Yes.
How many, generally speaking, do you get for the race?
About
would you say?
close to 4,800
That's
participants.
a lot of folks.
It is.
Just for here in Fresno, it is. And what does it cost to join?
It'll
Or
be
to-
$25 to register for
Okay.
adults, whether they're doing the 5K run or the fitness walk. And then for children, it'll be $15.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So how much, each race, each year, approximately how much money do you raise?
Close to $300,000.
Yeah. And do you think there's enough publicity here in the Central Valley for that race? Is the word getting out about the race?
It is
Or could it be better?
It can always be better. And one thing that we talk about with the race is a Power of 10 fundraising challenge, where we just ask our people that are registering to ask 10 friends, family members, coworkers for $10. We would love to see every single participant raise at least $100.
How often or how is it rare for a man or men to contract breast cancer?
Of the 240,000 women per year that are being diagnosed, about 2,300 men are being diagnosed.
So, what's your recommendation to men?
Same thing, especially if they're of higher risk on their mom's side of the family or their father's side of the family for breast cancer. It wouldn't hurt a guy to do a self-exam. The problem with gentlemen having any kind of problem in the chest area, they don't always seek attention as quickly as they should. And a lot of guys are diagnosed with a stage 2 or a stage 3 because they delayed seeing a physician. So.
And how should men view mammograms? Should a man have a mammogram as well?
Not necessarily, not unless there is some pathology there.
Okay.
And then they would probably do an ultrasound with a biopsy if they saw something.
Okay. So a man doesn't necessarily have to have a mammogram
Right.
Every so often like a woman does
Right.
because the mass just isn't there, right? You can the self-exam would be much better in that situation.
Yes.
For a man.
Men should check themselves as well, yeah. Or if they see something that isn't normal, it may even feel like a muscle strain. Whatever the abnormality is, it still follows the same 4 steps. Know what's normal for you.
Is it hereditary?
It can be.
For the most
Genetically,
part?
yes, it
For the
could
most
be.
part?
About 5 to 10% of the breast cancers that are diagnosed are hereditary or genetic.
Yeah. There are some PSAs that we've got that we want to run. Let's run one of them now. It doesn't matter which one. And this is a PSA on breast cancer, a public service announcement.
It only takes minutes to have your breasts checked, yet millions of women think they're not at risk. And so the danger grows. Early detection is critical. To learn more, visit Komen.org.
You know, it really is a powerful message, that public service announcement, because it is like a house on fire. If you don't get the early detection, it spreads like wildfire. That's pretty much the message in that PSA.
It can. The relative survival rate for a stage 1 in that 5 years is actually 98-99%. However, the statistic, the percentage rate of survival goes down. So, for instance, a stage 4 that is very aggressive could at least be a 24%. So that's a lot less than 98-99%.
Wow. So in your, well, you've heard about what happened to Laura Guzman.
Yes.
Our attorney here in Fresno. She was a guest on this program, 2 or 3 times. And the last time I saw her, she looked incredible, and could not believe over the holidays that she became ill and then passed away. I know her husband too, Chuck. Now she chose the alternative treatment at first. What's your recommendation there, or do you guys have one as an organization?
It's a very personal decision on how you're going to be treated. As far as we recommend you see a physician and an oncologist and work with them. And whatever your treatment decision is, it is your decision. And we agree with that.
So you support any decision, whether it's to get the alternative treatment or do traditional chemotherapy or whatever the case may be?
I support the right to choose whatever treatment you feel is necessary for you.
Right, because everyone is different, right?
Yes, and all different kinds of breast cancers are treated differently.
Right. What kind of treatment did you go through?
My first in '99 was chemotherapy. First surgery was a lumpectomy, and then followed by chemotherapy and radiation.
And how long a period of time was that? For what?
Over about 6 to 8 month period.
And did you feel sick during that time because of the treatments? Sometimes the treatments can actually make you ill.
I was very lucky in that I didn't really feel ill, but after chemo, several days after, you call it the crash period.
What is that?
Where you get muscle aches, very fatigued. I think that the fatigue after several rounds of chemo is what bothered me the most, that you just can't get up and do what you normally do.
Because you don't have the energy?
You don't have the energy. But not every woman experiences that.
Yeah, that's true. What's the biggest message for women out there, and including men?
Early detection is the key to surviving this disease. No matter what.
That seems like it's the only message, almost.
It really is.
Because there really is no other message, and there really is no other cure to this, is there? I mean, if you find out you have it and it's too late, it's too late.
You have to empower yourself with the knowledge about early detection. That is really the only way. I had a biology teacher one time say you are the master of your own destiny, and I truly believe that. We have to empower women and men to know the message that early detection is the key.
Did you find that the physicians, the medical industry, the people there working with you to try to combat this, that they could only do so much and the rest was up to you?
A lot of it is attitude when you're being treated.
Explain that.
If you have a positive outlook, if you have a positive support system, if you're working and your employer is supportive, that means the world.
Was your employer supportive?
I worked for an MD at the time. I was even able to take naps during lunchtime.
Yeah, but tell me you didn't feel at some point, ask yourself, why me? And feel sorry for yourself. It's a natural human reaction. I would.
I never really thought of it that way. I was glad to be alive when I found out that I had the type of tumor that was estrogen receptive positive, and that I may not have been there the next year had I not had that mammogram. It was never why me. It really wasn't.
Right. A mammogram is recommended every 2 years, is it?
Every year is
every
what we
year.
recommend, yes. Age 40 and over, yes.
All right. Insurance won't pay for you to have a mammogram more than once a year, right? I'm
Probably
assuming.
not more than once a year.
But do you need it more than once a year?
No.
You don't? Okay.
Not unless you have pathology in your breast.
Right.
And I mean, there's not an insurance company that's going to deny 2 mammograms if there's something wrong with the breast and the
Okay.
physician says it's medically necessary.
All right, important knowledge. Now, Jody Joe of Kiss Country, of course, she's going to be a guest here. She determined that she had breast cancer. She's 39 years old, and she works with Gnarly Charlie. She determined that she had it because she discovered a lump in her breast.
She certainly did.
Self-examination. The
Yes.
mammogram didn't do it because, well, it wasn't scheduled. So that's how she found out. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of proves the point right there.
It does, and she's had a wonderful opportunity, and very unselfish, might I say, that she's shared her experience with thousands of people here in the Central Valley.
Yeah, just her radio audience.
Yes.
You know, and I think she's going to get back to work. And she is cancer-free, by the way, right now.
Yes, she is.
So very fortunate. Well, you know, I appreciate you coming on, and
Thank
you
you
should
for
come on
having me.
again. And thank you for the information. And so early detection, self-examination, I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
All right, come back again. All right, Sharon Johnson, the Executive Director of the Susan G. Komen Foundation, of course, here in the Central Valley. That's going to do it for us today here on Connect with Me. Remember, early detection and do that self-exam. We're back with another program of Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno tomorrow. Have a good day.